Welcome out to a gloomy Los Angeles. It's been beautiful all week until Hurricane Hillary got here. There's been an earthquake, amongst other things, but the Saints get the win against the Chargers in their second preseason game. We're breaking it all down in today's show.
Yeah, and we are coming to you from the Mobile Toro Hospital studio. If you have any healthcare needs, make sure you check out the LCMC network. And we are also coming to you from 1 a.m. in Los Angeles, which is 3 a.m. in New Orleans. So I have no idea what's going to happen on the show. It might be a little delirious, but that's what we do. We get through it. We deliver just like PJ's does for you every morning. So check out one of their many locations all throughout the city, the best coffee that you can find. And if you need to get there, go buy a car from Matt Bowers. He is the best car dealer in the Gulf Coast region. And yes, specifically buy a car just to drive to PJ's, because that's what we do. All right, let's get into it. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief, call Keefe.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. You better call Botto if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims. You better call Botto at 504-323-7777 or 985-303-7777 for your free consultation and case review. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic, presented by Friend and Company Fine Jewelers. Go check out their new engagement salon, and while you're there, check out their new fleur-de-lis earrings and necklaces that you see I have on. Now they're specially priced for our NOF listeners. I think it's just one fleur-de-lis necklace, not necklaces. They've got multiple earrings, is what it is.
Sometimes you're out here with multiple chains on, though,
Hey,
so you thought it was a different day.
Well, we've been in LA for how long? And Hurricane Hillary, an earthquake, and apparently lightning, according to head coach Dennis Allen, was all the reasons why this game might not have happened. That's the reason why we are in our hotel shooting this show, because as a contingency plan, like, we might not have been able to driven out of the stadium.
Yeah, we got lucky, though. Like, it feels
really
like it got hit harder south of us than where we're at. And, thankfully they got this game in. But what a crazy start to the game. I've never been through anything quite like what this was. There's a hurricane outside, then there's an earthquake. It was unbelievable. They managed to get the game in. It felt like it was kind of dangerous, but then by the end of it, it was like, well, that wasn't that big of a deal. But it was crazy for like maybe the 2 hours leading into the game.
Didn't even turn into our lead, which was kind of surprising. What is our lead in this show tonight is the fact that the Texans and Saints joint practices are now completely canceled. And the first time I saw it when we got the joint statement from both organizations is I'm thinking it's heat related. We are supposed to get more record temperatures, which is just crazy this week in New Orleans. But according to head coach Dennis Allen, it had more to do with injury.
D'Amico reached out to me this morning and wasn't sure that they were going to have – they had a lot of guys get injured this past week and wasn't sure that we were going to be able to have, productive joint practices. So we thought it was better to, go ahead and cancel it.
We actually heard from Jay Kendre after the game, and he kind of joked when I asked him, like, do you have an opinion on these joint practices getting canceled? He's like, yeah, it's great for me. I get to play now during the week. Because as we saw here in California, he really didn't get a lot of action during the week in these joint practices.
He got none. Like, I don't think we've seen him at all. Like, I don't think he threw a single pass in these practices, maybe during one-on-ones, but outside of that, no. I'm disappointed they're getting canceled, though. I like the joint practices. I'm bored of watching the Saints go against the Saints. Once they start playing games, these practices start to be a little bit less interesting. I want to see them against new opponents because it's new information, and the work is just better. They simulate it, and then I like that today it opened up the game for everybody else because now you kind of get this evaluation of, like, really where guys stack up on the depth chart. I feel like we got a better feel for who's going to maybe make the team and who maybe won't, so they get the extended exposure. But I want to see, like, very specific setup Mike Thomas situations for Mike Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore's moment set up for Marshawn Lattimore. We aren't going to get that now.
Playing devil's advocate, though, how many times do we report a new injury in practice? And especially if you're getting these really grueling joint practices in. Listen, Dennis Allen made it very clear there is still work to be done this week when they head back to New Orleans. But I think, Marshawn Lattimore, he's fine, but, that was a concern, him having to exit practice in the joint practice with a little bit of a leg issue. Who knows what some of the other guys are dealing with, a lot of the starters. I think was Penning the only starter that played in this game, technically?
He got some snaps. There were a couple other guys that got some snaps. But, this was very much like we like our 22 guys. Let's take a look at everybody else. And Trevor Penning, we'll get into him a little bit. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the best game ever for him, but it felt like a major step back for everybody that's going to play. And then but that's the benefit of these practices. You can do that and you don't have to put them in these games. And if, you're the Chargers and you want to see Justin Herbert lead a 48-second drive down the field, you just set it up and do it. Yeah, you can't necessarily get that in the game. So I think it's a major loss. I really do. I mean, they're going to get by it. They're going to practice. They're going to get their work, and they can script everything still, but it's just not the same going against your defense instead of somebody else's.
I thought they were really productive, too, getting to see these practices live. This was actually my first joint practice that I got to see out here in Costa Mesa, and it was to a T almost. We were out there, I think, on Friday for probably 2.5 hours, and it went by like that because everything was back to back to back. I'm sure in this last preseason game, Dennis Allen and even D'Amico Ryans is going to wish that they can somewhat script this, but NFL rules, you just can't for these games. Yeah,
look, those are games basically, these joint practices. We watched 2 games, and then today's game is almost kind of like a letdown because you had the real games the other days. But I mean, it's definitely a major loss. So I liked how it was set up. I think they're going to still be fine, but I would have loved to see these practices. And look, I'm kind of interested about the Texans. The weird thing is though now is they aren't practicing against the team they're going to play in the season. Yeah. So maybe that's a good thing. I always thought it was a little bit weird that this was set up because
I agree.
Yeah, you aren't going to show all your plays, but if you're going against Mike Thomas and you're the cornerback, now you have firsthand knowledge of how he's trying to get off the line of scrimmage, and when you see it in the game, that can work against you if you try to cheat. But I mean, getting to know somebody and then playing them, it has to be beneficial to some degree for both teams.
I wouldn't have been surprised, let's say the joint practices happened, if we didn't see a single starter on the field in this third preseason game. And now it's, are we going to see Derek Carr? Are we going to see Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara? These guys, I don't necessarily want to put money on that yet, that we'll see them in that third preseason game, but I bet we do, at least for a drive.
I think we do too now. Yeah, I mean, they got to get their work in. Yeah. And I think there's still things they want to find out about a lot of these guys. Might not necessarily be all of them. If Alvin Kamara doesn't play, it wouldn't shock me, but I think we're going to see a heavy dose of them, and they do. They need to play. So, yeah, that's interesting. That's a good thing for the fans at the Superdome, at least, because I thought, for sure, zero chance. It might have just been a straight-up Jay Kendre game, just put them out there. But how does this impact their overall, setup now? There's guys competing for roster spots that might not get the same amount of snaps in this game that need them. And you see someone like Shaq Davis, who might have made the practice squad today with the way he played, and now that opportunity might not exist the same way in the last game.
Yeah, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's break down this game that was, to me, maybe not as exciting as the joint practices, but we did learn a lot in preseason game number 2. So it gets us to our moment of the game presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Payton Turner. Mike Triplett is somewhere screaming that he's not here for this debate. He has been the Payton Turner hype train. And Payton Turner, for me, the reason why this is the moment, his strip sack, and then, of course, Brian Brzee on the recovery. We were kind of wrestling with what our moment of the game would be, but the reason why I think it's such a big deal for Payton Turner is he needed this moment. Dennis Allen has been waiting to see him finally come into his own, but he's got to stack these moments together.
Oh, he has to. This needs to be the moment for him. That's the turning point of kind of his career, because he's been stacking moments, and then this was a big one in the game.
Yeah.
Again, against a second team quarterback, a second team tackle, whatever, though. Like, seeing Payton Turner make game-changing plays is something that we need to get used to seeing.
Absolutely.
And yeah, he has to do this. And that was huge. It was a big moment for him. I'm still like standing on what I'm saying. Like, I need to see it consistently in games. We've seen flashes from him before, been fooled before, but it's just really a matter of health, staying out there and doing it. But yeah, I like where he's going. I like how he's building. I talked to him after the game, and you know, he's kind of feels like he's got his technique down. He's just kind of like working on his pad level and just like the details of being consistent so that he can do these things every time he's on the field. But we're seeing these moments now over and over and over. Mike believed long before me. I'm still not quite there, but I like the track that he's on, no doubt. There's no way to see anything else but a guy that looks like he's kind of rising a little bit.
Health is the biggest thing. So this is what we thought about Payton Turner strip sack. Here's what DA had to say.
That's kind of the stuff that we've seen him doing in training camp, you know, and that's why we drafted him where we did. And I think, you know, here's a kid that you know, has had a lot of injury issues, which has forced him to miss a lot of time, and so therefore he's missed a ton of development. And so, you know, it's been an unfair assessment of the player up to this point. But I do think he's had a good camp, and I do think he made some nice plays today.
That was one of 3 takeaways for the defense. I know it's the 2s and 3s. People are probably going to come at us in the comments. Relax. These weren't the 1s out there. We get it, but it's still a really big deal given what we've seen from the team last year. And takeaways were a big issue. Lonnie Johnson and Isaac Yiadom had the 2 interceptions. I think for Yiadom, that interception maybe saved him from what we would have said might have been not a good game for him, right?
Yeah, his main thing, though, is special teams. And I like what he's done at corner,
Special teams was good, yeah.
Yeah, and I like what he's done from corner throughout camp and everything. One game, yeah, you got to show out every time, but he's going to make it to be like JT Gray's sidekick on special teams if he makes a team. He was outstanding at that last year. But, yeah, you know, I think it's a good play for him. He needed it. But I think he's played pretty good throughout camp. I kind of like where he's at. He's flashed to me more than maybe a lot of the other corners, but definitely something that strengthens his case for sure.
For Lonnie Johnson, to me, he still seems like he's on the fringe of a guy who can make the team. I'm actually probably leaning more toward he is going to make the initial 53 cut, but where are you sitting on that?
I'm probably with you on that. It feels like he's flashed more than Abram, and if it's a coin flip on one of those guys, the only thing that might save Abram is that he plays in the box, and they kind of got a lot of deep safeties. But I like what Lonnie Johnson's doing. He's made special teams plays. He had a good one last week. There's been a few in camp, like where he's gotten down the field and, like, you know, pinned the ball down inside the 5-yard line. Those are things that get you on the team. But yeah, I think that we've seen him do more with his opportunity than probably Jonathan Abram. And it feels like it's kind of like an either or with them, with Jordan Howden probably already like solidified and locked on the team. I think we both like Ugo a little bit more just with his versatility.
He continues to pop. Ugo Amadi, I think, to his credit, every practice, every game, if we go through our notes and look through our chart, Ugo Amadi's name is there a couple times.
Yeah, definitely. And he made plays out here at the joint practices. So he's someone that I think is probably going to make the team too. So yeah, I think it's Lonnie or Abram. You do a coin flip. I probably go with Lonnie, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if they want like the versatility. But
right.
I'm with you. I like him more than Abram at this point.
That's going to be our hardest podcast is when we talk about the 53-man roster cuts. I almost try and ignore it. I know I just circled it on my calendar to make sure we're ready to go. That's going to be a huge day for NewOrleans.Football, so you better be following Nick, Mike, and myself because we are going to be all over cut down day. Isaiah Foskey, a little bit better today. And also, not so much. I mean,
I'm on the not so much.
He made a couple play, like as a whole, bad. The one where the quarterback ran straight in, Chargers quarterback ran in untouched. It's so glaring that it makes you want to just like shake him and be like, come on, like, why isn't this working for you yet? But from the joint practices in the game, I saw a little bit of improvement. I don't want to give him just a total, he's not there yet. He's, I don't think he's living up to his second round draft pick yet. I think he's going to be somebody that maybe it takes a little bit longer. And we'll get to the Dennis Allen clip here in a minute, but he's somebody that is holding him to a higher standard as well.
Yeah, look, I'm someone that's been always like, give him more time, and that's like backfired on me too many times. And I'm a little bit worried.
The Payton Turner conversation.
Yeah,
he was a first round pick.
Yeah, and I was Mr. like, give him more time, and he might get there. Marcus Davenport got there. Like, I'm a little bit worried about where Foskey's at right now, and if we're just talking about it like isolated into a single season, I'm not condemning his career by any means,
right.
but like, for a single season, I'm not expecting anything from him this year at this point. There's no reason to. There's been little moments, like you said, you've seen flashes, one-on-ones, some good stuff at these practices, but you get a guy in a game and he can't like set the edge and he's just allowing the quarterback to get out.
It was so glaring.
It was so bad. And the worst part about it is like Stick couldn't even like read his block. So like if you just wouldn't have been out of position, like he could have just cut that straight in and he like took it way over to the corner. The play should have been made, but like Foskey gets sucked in, then he's kind of like, stuttering his feet a little bit, and then boom, it's over. Like the play's done. You got to recognize that. And he's a speed guy, like a play out in space where it's just kind of like use your speed, see the quarterback, get to him. Those are the plays he should make. Like I'm okay with him losing technique stuff, maybe not knowing how to like hit a swim move at the right moment, but like that you got to do and you got to make that play.
And on the broadcast, we were able to see that Dennis Allen pulled him off to the side and made sure he knew that a mistake was made. I had to ask Dennis Allen, what did you talk to him in that moment?
Look, that was a play that I thought he should have been able to finish and make the play, and so I expressed to him that I expect him to be able to make that play. That's why we drafted him where we drafted him. And so now, that being said, man, I've seen some improvement out of this player. I've seen him cut it loose a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I hold him to a standard that, a standard of expectation that, he should have made that play. That's the way I feel.
Sticking with the rookies, let's get to our play of the game. And I don't know if we have the same one, but for me it was the Kendre Miller catch, 27 yards down the field from Jameis Winston. For me, Kendre Miller was great in the passing game, the run game. We even saw him blocking and keeping Jameis Winston clean in the pocket, which, as we know, Jameis Winston was ad-libbing for quite some time in this second preseason game, making it very challenging. I mean, there was moments where we looked down and we're like, get rid of it, Jameis, get rid of it. Like the offensive line, I think, maybe made a step forward in that aspect of having to.
Sure.
I think that's also why there was a lot of holding penalties, which we are going to get to later. But Kendre Miller, to me, made a big step too. And he had another knee injury, but it seemed like he didn't miss a beat.
So can I have two plays of the game?
Do it.
Can I have the one that I think is going to impact the season the most and was maybe the most important play? I would have had three. You just took the top one. Obviously, like the Jameis throw was crazy. The Kendre catch was crazy. The route was crazy. Everything about it is like, okay, Kendre can play early in the season. He can do stuff in the passing game. But more importantly to me, ended up being an incomplete pass to Lucas Kroll, but Kendre Miller picking up the blitzing linebacker coming straight through the center, giving Jameis enough time to get the ball out. That's hard to do. That's always the last part of the process for a rookie running back. And who knows if one play is going to show you that he's going to make the next 10, but he made the first one, and you got to start somewhere. And that's like a moment of confidence. I'm looking at him like, all right, he can play on third down now. Like, you can catch, you can block, you can be on the field on third down. Huge moment. My other play of the game, though, Jake Hayner's first pass. And look, I owe Jake, I was too hard on Jake last week. I came at him too hard. But his first play of the game comes out, extends it, gets out of the pocket, hits the 50-yard, 51, 52, whatever it was, down the field to John Trey. Like, what a great throw, extending it, just buying himself time. That's what we've been seeing in practice. And when he came out last week and started out slow, it was just so jarring because that confident quarterback we saw on snap one today is who we've seen for his 100 snaps in training camp. So really good moment for him. I liked it. I like that we saw Jake Hayner start to finish in this game.
Have to give the kid credit. Ton of confidence. We even saw him take a big hit, and Brandon and I were in the post-game locker room. He almost didn't want to talk about it. He's like, I'm good. We're like, okay, well, obviously they took your helmet. Like, what was the process of all of that? He had to go through a little bit of testing to make sure he was able to come back in. He's tough. He's confident. He's proved that he can go down the field and kind of handle these moments. Again, he's going up against 2s and 3s, but he's a rookie in only his second NFL preseason game. He wasn't the only. I mean, Kendre Miller, Jay Kendre, Jontre Kirkland, you just mentioned him, and Shaq Davis, both making big plays today that I think is going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, I thought Shaq was tremendous. I mean, and that's what he needs to do, is be a contested catch guy. And we haven't seen a ton of it in camp. But again, like, there's not that much physicality out there. And I think when it is more physical and you see someone like making these plays as they're being hit and, you know, all that other stuff, sacrificing themselves a little bit, you see it a little bit more clearly. So that's why, like, these games are important for, like, the longer shot guys, because they get out there, they have, like, real actual practice. Whereas, like, even in joint practices, nobody's hitting. So, like, you don't know, like, if Shaq can hold on to the ball or whatever. So it's important and it's beneficial. And he took advantage of his opportunity to.
You talk about a great preseason game. We've rattled off how many Saints players' names? We haven't even got to our player of the game yet, who deserves a legitimate big segment. Jalen Smith, newly signed linebacker. We knew he was bringing in a veteran presence and somebody who has knowledge of the game and can maybe even help some of the other linebackers who are kind of stuck in a rut. I mean, Zach Bond hasn't really showed us a whole lot, neither has DeMarco Jackson. Jalen Smith comes in here and right away in practice. He's somebody who popped right away. The coaches like him. And in this game, he had 2 huge third down stops in just 22 snaps, which to me, it's like, you want to talk about a guy who takes advantage of his opportunity. He is our player of the game, presented by Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey.
You think he's the guy, like, behind DeMario and Pete Werner? Like, definitely?
I think so.
So, like, you got Nephi out.
I think what Jalen Smith can do in his range, Nephi Sewell cannot. He's not there yet. Maybe he can't. Jalen Smith is also a lot bigger, and his wingspan is a lot bigger than Nephi Sewell, which is why I think if, let's say, for example, Demario Davis has to go out during the season, who do you want playing in his role? Nephi Sewell or Jalen Smith playing next to Pete Werner?
I want Jalen. I mean, and I think we see it, small sample, but, like, he's popping over and over and over and over. And he's a pro. Like, he's just doing what you know he can do. He's kind of more of a sure thing. Nephi might get there. He might have more upside. But like you said, Jalen's just a bigger guy. He moves so well. Like, it's hard not to see him and, like, feel, like, inspired confidence in his play. So, like, since this camp started, that's always been one of the big questions for us. Like, who's going to be the guy? Who's coming up behind him? Jalen Smith, like, if he was out there from day one, I don't think we'd have those questions. They feel answered to me. I feel confident about that position at this point. I think you keep Nephi around still. Like, it is, you know, the maybe 5th linebacker behind Bond too. But yeah, definitely Jalen. I think Jalen kind of has that locked up right now.
Yeah, and credit to him, too. He knew going into this game that Dennis Allen was circling his name. I mean, he even said it to us after Friday's practice that he wanted to see Jalen Smith and how he could handle it. He was almost surprised that he was already fitting into the system so seamlessly, and he proved it in the game.
He did. It was an outstanding game, too. Like you said, 2 third down stops, just showing up exactly where you need him to show up. We saw the sideline stuff, as you said. It's back there in this game. For sure. Outstanding performance.
All right, we talked about the guys we are up on. Now it's time to go on the guys we are down on, which includes Lucas Kroll and Bryan Edwards. We'll have that coming up after the break. Also, what's going on with the offensive line, Trevor Penning specifically. We'll hear from you, the fans, with our question of the day and our money segment right after this.
Now, at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, get our $10.99 shrimp remoulade combos with zesty shrimp remoulade and fried shrimp or catfish for only $10.99. And did you hear? Soft-shelled crabs are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
At Turo, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world, to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong, and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care, and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back out to Los Angeles in the mobile Turo Hospital studio. All right, let's take a look at the guys who took a step back. And I hate to say this about Lucas Kroll, but he had an opportunity. It's a very crowded tight end room, which is why I think this is the case for him. When he had, I think there were 2 or 3 contested catches that he had an opportunity, was right in his hands, and he just couldn't come down with the ball. When you have guys like Jimmy Graham, Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, Foster Moreau, who have pretty much established themselves, maybe not Jimmy Graham just yet, but just based on his veteran presence in that room, Lucas Kroll needed desperately to make those plays in this game.
Well, he's not just competing against them. He's competing against Adam Prentice and the other fullback that's on the team, too. So he needs to make the case that they need to keep an extra tight end and get rid of the fullback altogether. He had the opportunity to do that, and he didn't. He dropped 3 passes today. And those are the plays you have to make. Maybe one gets away, but if he catches 3 of those, 3 out of the 4, he probably has a very good chance of making the team. But I thought he squandered it a little bit. He had the one really, really great catch today. And, again, none of these plays are super easy, but you're a tight end. You're going up the seam. You're contested. You're against a backup or third-string linebacker. Got to make the play.
I want to say maybe we're being too hard on him in this point. I mean, it is the NFL. It is a preseason game. Like, nobody's feeling sorry for you. You got to go up there and make those plays. But he was out with injury this week. It was working off to the side. He was integrating back in. Maybe that had a little bit to do with it as well.
Yeah, but I still think it's fair to say that he had an opportunity, I think, to maybe really, really make the conversation difficult, and he just didn't execute all the way there. That doesn't mean he's buried, dead, and gone. He might come back next week and have a great game and find his way on the team. He's been around for 2 years now, so it's not going to come down to just one moment, but he could have made a case. It was right really there for him. And those are picture perfect opportunities, those difficult plays. He makes all 4 of those catches. It's oh damn, Lucas Kroll has to be on the team. And now we're I don't know, maybe.
I think it's fair to say nobody had a worse game than Bryan Edwards.
Tough
in
game.
LA.
Tough game.
Bad.
Tough game.
Bad.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns called back on offensive pass interference. You want to talk about things you can absolutely not do in a preseason game? It's that.
Yeah, and look, the first one, it was kind of a very typical pick play, but you have to sell the route so that you aren't just going out and blocking the guy. Yeah. You got to make it moderately believable that you're kind of you're going out he ran a Tubi route. You know what I mean? You got to at least be hitting the Netflix. It's got to be a real acting here. It can't just be something that someone's just tossing on the internet. So yeah, he just has to sell that a little bit better.
And especially you talk about another crowded room at wide receiver. I still don't think they're keeping more than 5 wide receivers this year. And to me, he is not making that top 5.
Yeah, he's not in the top 5 right now. I don't think so. I don't think there's any way. I think it's AT. I think AT's firmly ahead of him. Is Traquan gonna make where's Traquan?
We have not seen Traquan in nobody did.
No, I don't know if he's here.
Rashid Shaheed and him both left practice back in training camp at the same time, right, with the same injury, I believe?
Possibly so,
Possibly.
Yeah.
We didn't see Traquan on this trip, which is really surprising because they brought the majority of the guys out here to rehab. It was important for them to bring guys out here to rehab with the team. So I don't know what the deal is. We need to put a call out for Traquan Smith, make sure he's all right, figure out what he's doing. We just haven't seen him or heard from him.
I thought he was on the team.
He's a team guy. He's somebody who's always around this group of wide receivers, even just off the field. We see them on social media. We have not seen him.
Yeah, look, his guys aren't around. if like Callaway was around, he'd probably be like an Instagram story somewhere right now. We'd know what was going on. But yeah, we haven't seen or heard from him. I thought he was a lock to be on the team, and right now it's just like, well, I don't know,
where have you been?
Out of sight, out of mind a little bit maybe, but yeah, he needs to get back and do his thing. But I think AT's definitely on the team. I don't think it's Bryan Edwards. If it's not Traquan, I don't know who the other guy is right now.
I know,
but it's probably not Bryan Edwards.
He is the first one that we're going to be looking for when we get back to New Orleans. So we will make sure the minute we see Traquan Smith, we will let everybody know that he's he's still on the team. He's out there, like he's good to go. I mean, we're joking, but really he is probably back in New Orleans getting rehab, and who knows? A lot of these players too. I mean, they have families and lives. Like he might be dealing with stuff back home. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I'm sure he's okay.
Yeah,
but yeah,
he's all good.
We need to see him in practice. He just get back out there, make a couple plays, and you're a lock to make the team at this point.
What was not good? 14 penalties.
Very bad.
I'm gonna run through them. We had a face mask penalty, 5 offensive holding penalties, 2 defensive holding penalties, 1 DPI, 2 OPIs, 3 false starts. That's just gross in the preseason. I don't have a better word for it. That's just not okay.
It's too much. Last week there were too many. There were penalties in practice this week. They got to clean it up. It was an issue last year.
Yeah.
Just be a little bit tighter. Look, these aren't the actual guys, so it's
14.
14's a big number. It's a big number. You got to get it cleaned up. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, a lot of them aren't going to be playing in actual games, but it's just something that's kind of been around for too long, and I don't care who it is at this point. Like, just clean it up, get them out of here. Don't tolerate it. Punish everybody. Make them extremely accountable, and just let's not see it next week.
And we listened to Dennis Allen. I don't think I've ever seen him not necessarily mad, but at this point frustrated with it. It's got to be stopped. It's 141 yards in those 14 penalties.
There's that many?
Yeah.
Not good. It's got to go away. Get it cleaned up.
With the 5 being offensive holding penalties, it's a perfect segue to our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. And the question comes in, what are your thoughts on Trevor Penning?
Wasn't blown away. And you're a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. You need to be very good. This is a game where you should have went out and dominated. You're against a backup player on the edge. Yep. You need to win damn near every snap, and he didn't. He gave up 1 pressure. He got beat on a couple runs. I was very underwhelmed with the performance. He needs to keep building on it. We'll see where it goes from here. I'm not closing the book on him, but I would have felt a lot better seeing a little bit more. The one thing I wanted to see when we left this was I wanted to feel completely confident in Penning, and this was a moment for him where he should have been able to do that given his pedigree, who he is, his stature, his build, his athleticism. Dude, just put it together. You got to put it together. You got 10 more days maybe. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but the clock is ticking, and it has to get there very, very, very quickly.
You were pretty opinionated on Lewis Kidd as well.
I thought he had a rough game. It was a rough game. Yeah, he's got to step up. He's been around for a while. I think he's probably on the wrong side of the 53 right now. Another game to play, but yeah, he needs to play a lot better too.
Yeah, I think all around our confidence level is not very high in the 2s and 3s in the offensive line, which is something we were heading into this trip. Maybe they'll make a jump. So now at this point, is it too late for free agency with offensive linemen?
I mean, there's always the cut downs, and
right.
you're comparing your guys against everybody else in the league. Michael Parrington and his staff are scouting all the players in the league.
Right.
They know who everybody is. They have a good idea who's going to get cut. I'm sure they have a short list of players, and they've scouted them against their own guys. And if there's somebody out there where they can improve, there's always a little bit of churning at the bottom of the roster this time of year. And I'm sure they have a couple people highlighted, and it wouldn't surprise me if a few of them are offensive linemen.
I bet you a lot of people are highlighting Blake Grupe because at this point, the Saints have 2 starting kickers, I believe, on their roster, which gets to our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. The guys were 5 of 5 in field goals. I mean, there was only 1 Saints touchdown. That was Kendre Miller at the beginning of the game in this preseason game. Saints still got the win. Will Lutz went 3 for 3 from field goal range, 33 yards, 51 yards, 34 yards. Blake Grupe hit 2, 37-yarder, 35-yarder. And somebody actually tweeted us this, is Sean Payton maybe going to go get him? And I'm thinking, who is in Denver? I go look it up, and it's Brett Maher, which how long was he here in New Orleans before he got cut?
Yeah, he was here for a couple of weeks. Yeah, out of necessity. At one point he was here, he got cut, he came back. It was a whole thing. But, yeah, I can't imagine Sean is thrilled about his kicker situation right now. been there, done that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was good enough to like bring it back and want the ring on the finger, you know. So yeah, it didn't work out the first time. Can't see it working out the second time.
So we've got Adam Troutman, Marquez Callaway in Denver. I'm not 100% sure if there's any other Saints, but
there's a few others. Yeah.
Blake Grupe, I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm thinking around the NFL right now, who needs kickers, and I guarantee Sean Payton is on the phone right now considering going and getting Blake Grupe.
He should be. I mean, he's looked good. He's hung around this long. Shout out to DA. He found a kicker faster than Sean ever did. It took Sean, I don't know how many years to get to Will Lutz, but yeah, they got Grupe. I would try to get him if I was Sean. I think he's going to be a great kicker. I think he's going to have a good career.
It's interesting. A lot of people ask us, you know, was this the game that solidified Will Lutz? I don't think we ever thought at this point. I feel like we maybe solidified that Will Lutz was the guy a couple weeks ago. We didn't necessarily outright say it, but it felt like it.
I think we've been saying he's a front runner since like OTAs. And I think we all agree on that. Like Grupe hasn't knocked him off.
No, that's what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for Grupe to. Essentially, it'd have to be Will Lutz missing and Blake Grupe making these field goals.
And it would have to be the Saints making a financial decision at this point. And I've just never known them to try to save a dollar. Like, it just it isn't what they do. So maybe if they were the Patriots, like, they probably get rid of Lutz and they go to Grupe because they're always shrewd and trying to be like a step ahead of everything. That's just not how the Saints operate. And the way they've built this team, I think you got to go with the guy that you just kind of know if there's no reason to go a different way. Like, there's just too much on the line right now to like take a risk and get it wrong. So I would go with Lutz if I was them, given their circumstance. I think they will. I'd be surprised if Grupe beats them out.
We'll find out. We're heading back to New Orleans, back to the Heat.
Back to the Heat.
Wish we could stay here in beautiful California. Can we still say beautiful California after today?
No, we love New Orleans. It's the greatest place in the world for what we do.
I don't know. Brandon might not let us leave after his trip to Manhattan Beach.
I'm going. I'm going back. They love us. I love
I thought
them.
you were about to hit the song.
I'm not staying. It was a nice trip. That's where we belong. That's we do what we do there. LA, they don't love their team like they love the Saints.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is unfortunate though. I was really looking forward to the Texans Saints joint practices.
Yeah, it's a huge disappointment. Like there's
a big difference.
That's like a crescendo at the end of camp, and now it's just kind of like, when's the season start? Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe things will change. Maybe DA will do something to
spice it up,
add more competition. Trevor Penning's still healthy. Has he had a fight yet?
No fight. Trevor Penning,
Not speaking it into existence, but Dennis Allen is going to manufacture competition somehow this week.
Are you going to be okay if camp doesn't end with like a full-blown brawl? Like you've
been
waiting for it every time. Like we could play the clip. Like you get like a glint in your eye about it. Oh, you do. Oh, you do. Absolutely.
Okay. I want the fans to comment in the section though. When they see like there's a camp fight, they're immediately.
Oh yeah, no question. But there was like the one, and I looked over, and you're just like, it was like the most alive I've seen you.
The only reason why I say it because how much fun was it watching Trevor Penning and Peyton Turner go at it for the first time last camp?
Oh, it was
amazing.
It was a joke. Like how many times we
JT Gray and Trevor Penning. Yeah. I still have that clip on my social media account. It was amazing.
Shout out to JT Gray for standing against them. Trevor Penning is a massive dude, and JT Gray is not. Like, so shout out to JT. He's got that dog in him. We've seen it.
What is practice? Wednesday? Tuesday? No, they'll be out there Tuesday. Nick will be out there. I'm wrapping us up. We got to get out of here. We got to get back to New Orleans, and we'll see you guys next time.